How y'all doing? We got to talk about the absolute state of black activism and how I think black people need to wake up. Now, if you first time viewer here, make sure you share the stream. Make sure you let everybody know that I'm running this stream live. But guys, we got to really get serious. We got to get serious because the thing about it is that we are in a state of emergency right now in this country. As a people, we are in a state of emergency. And right now, you have people out here who are taking it lightly, who are taking this as a game. Right now in America, you have a state of affairs right now where you got people trying to bring police dogs, robot police dogs on the streets. You got a state of affairs in America where you got race soldiers targeting people in schools as they walk home, as they're sleeping at home, as they're driving home, as they're sitting in their car. Hello, how you doing? Everybody, welcome to the stream. You got race soldiers targeting people left and right, and yet you got judges who are letting these race soldiers walk. You got juries who are letting these race soldiers walk. Like, for example, here in Washington State, you had Ed Troyer. Ed Troyer, the sheriff in Pierce County, Ed Troyer lied on a black newspaper carrier saying that this man was going to do all kinds of things to him. Coming to find out, that wasn't true. It was the police, the Tacoma Police Department, who accused him, who actually accused Ed Troyer of this, and also the Washington State Attorney General. So Ed Troyer was put on criminal trial, and an almost all-white jury acquitted Ed Troyer based on a technicality that Ed Troyer, when he dialed 911, he was dialing a non-emergency number, a direct line. He didn't dial 911. So it was ridiculous. So Ed Troyer got away with trying to get this man hit off because he said that Cedric Alzheimer, the black newspaper carrier in question, was going to do all kinds of things to them. And you understand how police usually react to black men when another law enforcement officer, namely a sheriff, says something like that. And the fact that a police department didn't even believe the sheriff should let you know everything you need to know about Ed Troyer. That is the state of affairs that we find ourselves in this country. And you got black activists out here who are playing games. So-called black activists, because many of you are ops. We all know that. Listen, I have nothing but respect for the Black Panther Party, but we know what happened to the Black Panthers. They were a force for good. They were darn near superheroes, I would say. And then what happened? Then what happened? Then what happened? Right? Infiltrated, destroyed from the inside. And then what ends up happening is people forget those lessons, and then over time, they allow the same mistakes to happen. What ends up happening many times is that people sink their personal beliefs and their political ideas and their ideologies to their activism. And that isn't necessarily going to always be the case or always conducive to what you want. Right? So my thing is that many people in the black community, we have linked our activism to certain political parties. And the problem with doing that is that when you link your activism to certain political parties and certain politicians, what ends up happening oftentimes is that politician has to get reelected. And so that's going to be their argument. Hey, I can't do anything for black people this time. I got to get reelected. You know, or they'll say, well, if I do something for black people, what'll end up happening is that this other group, they'll get upset. And so what'll end up happening is a constant treadmill, a constant hamster wheel that never ends. And do you understand what I just explained? The current condition of the black community in terms of a voting block. When you give people your vote and your undying support without them doing anything to earn it, well, what ends up happening is that they get comfortable. See, that's why Kamala Harris is trying to reach out to black men right now, because the Democrats have gotten comfortable. You know, they gotten really, really comfortable with our votes. You know, when during certain periods where there were global situations, that's how I'm going to phrase it, you saw executive orders passed for other communities that were only 7% of the overall population. And yet the black community, we've been asking for an anti-black hate crime bill. We've been asking for an end to qualified immunity. We've been asking for certain things to be legalized. We've been asking for all kinds of things, like, for example, reparations. That's been a big thing. Make sure you guys share the stream. Make sure you're liking the stream. Make sure you're tapping the stream. Make sure you leave a like, and make sure you guys leave a comment so we can get the screen boosted up. But my thing is that I want you to understand something, right? People need to see black activists in the community doing the work. See, many of you join organizations just for the sake of doing it. It's like for example, you get people who pick up a hobby or an interest, and so they'll seek out a group and they'll join that group for that hobby or interest, knowing fully well that they don't want to commit to it. Just like, for example, if someone shows up to a job interview and the interviewer is asking, "Hey, are you going to show up on weekends?" Are you ever going to be late? Oh, nope, nope, nope. Never late, never late. Are you going to always be respectful? And we give these promises. So you give these promises to places, whereas you got to make money so that you can have food to eat. So don't tell me that when you join these organizations that you always join for the best reasons. See, that's what you're getting. You're getting this sandbag effect. Whereas now it is fashionable to be an activist. Now it's fashionable to be out in the streets shouting Black Lives Matter and holding up picket signs. And now it's fashionable. Now it's cool. See, it's just like gaming, right? It's very comparable to gaming. At one point, people called gamers geeks and dorks and all this other and all these derogatory terms. And now gaming is fashionable. At one point, hip hop and rap was seen as a bad thing. It was seen as horrible. And now you got people like Eminem. Now you got white boys out here sagging their pants. You got white boys out here winning dunk contests. You got white boys out here doing all kind of dances on TikTok, getting famous and stuff. You know, it starts off as something that society rejects, but then society always wants to emulate. Same with black people. Reject us, put us in chains and all that stuff, but then always want to copy our swag, our look, our feel, our touch, our soul, our rhythm. See? That's how it works, man. That's how it works. That's how it always works. A black activist, many of you, unfortunately, have this idea that you can fake the funk with your activism. And that's fine. I mean, that's how you want to approach things. Sure. But let me ask you a question. Who pushed the needle when it comes to reparations recently? About police misconduct, police corruption, all that stuff. It wasn't organizations. It was the people on the streets. It was the advent of the internet. It was the ability for people to see things and not unsee them. See, we all knew, the black community always knew there was something wrong with the police. We always knew that. The black community, we've always known there were certain racial undertones in this country because we understood what the country is built off of. We got that. We got that. But the thing that others don't seem to understand is that we understand that. And so over time, what you've had is the voting bloc of the black community being more outspoken than the bloc who doesn't necessarily follow the leader. So with that being said, right now you're having certain groups like the Congressional Black Caucus and other groups that are solely aligned with the Democrat Party, right? But then you're getting certain other movements like Foundational Black Americans, others, I wouldn't say a movement, but more so in identification. And you're getting more people who have more pride in their lineage, more pride in who they are, right? And black people are naturally more conservative in this country, in case you don't know that. And so over time, what's been happening is that you've ignored the black community, the same way that you've ignored the rising white supremacy within, the Hispanic community. You've ignored the black community entirely. You haven't noticed that we've been seethed and angry over the police misconduct, over not getting rid of qualified immunity, over police just getting away with this harming us in our bedrooms, harming us when we walk at home, harming us when we riding bikes, harming us when we're in our cars, harming us when we're with our children, harming us when we're with our wives. I mean, You've had police officers fatally shoot black people for having the most innocuous, the most mundane of objects: cell phones, hair comb, a sandwich, a wallet. And so over time, these black activists who were able to appease the black community by disguising their concerns and masking them along with the Democrat Party, they've been able to appease the black community. Hey, guys, calm down, calm down, calm down. Remember, we're all in this together, and we got to do a catch-all bill, and all lives matter bill where it benefits not just you, but the Hispanic community, the Asian community, and everybody else. And then we get back on the treadmill. You know what's funny about the Republican Party, right? You can say Republicans stand for white people, and then you can point to certain policies, right? The problem with Democrats is that you can say, somebody can say, the Democrats stand for black people, and then I'm gonna say, so what's their policies? And then you'll say, well, this policy and that policy. I say, and then I'll say, what policy specifically benefits black people, specifically? And then what you're going to hear is a constant revolving treadmill of, well, this bill benefits everybody, so it also benefits you. And I'm going to keep asking the same question. Where is our executive order? Where is our where is our version of a white athlete saying something that is offensive, and then him having to do all the 6 steps like Kyrie Irving? Where is the equivalent of that? Where is the equivalent of Don Lemon? And don't get me wrong, Don Lemon said something that was very, very silly. But where's the equivalent of a white person, right, saying something that Don Lemon says and then immediately being fired? Because we know for a fact that Chris Cuomo, it took them a while. It took them a while to get rid of him, despite the fact that he was covering up for what his brother was doing. Some of the scandals that Andrew Cuomo was getting into. Look at how fast they pounced on Don Lemon. Chris Cuomo was still talking about that, despite the fact that you have people's grandmothers who are no longer with us because of what Andrew Cuomo did. And the New York State Attorney General, Letitia James, I even remember her name because the only reason why I remember her name is because, one, she's black, and two, I remember the whole scandal with Andrew Cuomo. That's the only reason why I even remember her name. Look at how long it took, right? Look at how long it took to get him off the air. And look at how they're treating Don Lemon now. Look. They went at Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka is an NBA coach, and don't get me wrong, he had an affair, and he was with Nia Long, and that was a bad thing. But the way they treated this man because of infidelity, that white woman chose to be with Ime Udoka. It was a consensual relationship. Ime Udoka gets fired. She doesn't. And he's paraded around the media. He's paraded around the media. He's got an albatross on his neck. He did nothing illegal. I would strongly advise, right? Strongly advise against cheating on Nia Long. I totally agree with that. But you see many white men do the exact same thing. How long did Harvey Weinstein get away with it? How long? Did you know that even after the Harvey Weinstein situation, and even after everybody was pretending to be angry at Dave Chappelle, walking out of Netflix saying, "Oh, that the Chappelle special was so offensive and everything else," and people were walking out of the Netflix office and saying that they won't show up to work until Netflix cancels Dave Chappelle. You know what's funny about that? Same time, you had Harvey Weinstein, who was the executive producer of this episodic series that was an episodic version of The Mist. The Mist was made by Stephen King. It was made into a movie. But then Harvey Weinstein and his brother made it into an episodic series that actually aired on Netflix. And the central theme of the series, the essential plot, was not only these monsters that came from a different dimension, but also that this girl was essayed by her friend. So that was the theme of the show. They allowed that on the show, but you had people out here virtue signaling, fake outrage over Dave Chappelle. And the only difference I can think of between Dave Chappelle and Harvey Weinstein and his brother is this. Fact. You see, people say, well, what about Bill Cosby? What about Bill Cosby? Let's talk about it. Bill Cosby, right? Bill Cosby got away with what he got away with, and even if you say that he did it, fine. Let's go with that. How was Bill Cosby talking throughout that whole time? Pull yourself up by the bootstraps, stuff like that. And white society was fine with him so long as he was pushing stuff like that. The moment he got to black empowerment, what happened? The moment he started talking too much about black empowerment, what happened? What happened to Michael Jackson? Have any of those claims been proven yet? I haven't seen any kind of hardcore evidence. And that one joke of a documentary, Leaving Netherland, was a joke. It was a lie. An absolute lie. I found it interesting how Michael Jackson came out against Sony. And he revealed all the white supremacists within Sony. He started speaking about how they were screwing people over, right, with the record deals. He was doing what Kanye was doing a long time ago. He was speaking about it. And Michael Jackson did something revolutionary. He started buying masters. Do you understand how revolutionary, how ahead of the game he was to do that at that time? He had the sense, right, to buy the masters. I mean, he was buying masters for the Beatles. He had the sense. Let me ask you a question. You've seen smear campaigns done against people like Edward Snowden, right? Who you know didn't do anything wrong. What do you think somebody would do against somebody like Michael Jackson to bring him down? What kind of accusation do you think would have to be out there in order to bring somebody down like Michael Jackson? How strong would you have to push a narrative to bring down somebody like Michael Jackson? Well, you saw it. Because to this day, no one's presented any solid evidence that he's done anything wrong. To this day, I've not seen it. They try to spread lies and rumors about MLK, Malcolm X. They said MLK he engaged in infidelity and all that stuff. Have you seen any solid evidence of any of that? I haven't. And the question becomes, even if that were true, and does it make anything that he does it make anything that he said untrue? You know what's interesting, right? White society loves to bring up these lies, smears, and rumors, but even if the lies, smears, and rumors were true, right? I look at people like Abraham Lincoln, like Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and so many others, right? Who either had slaves or who were messing around with the Native Americans, and they cheated on all of their spouses. It was kind of a known thing. It's kind of a known thing. It's not even controversial to say that. Right? And my thing is that if MLK were perfect, I wouldn't trust him. The man has to have some kind of flaws. I mean, Jesus, can you think of a better example of a human being? Jesus. I mean, I want the man to have some kind of flaw. Good God. And them bringing up these lies, smears, and rumors, it shows black people something, right? It shows you something. It shows you that no matter how good you think you are, you're never good enough for white society. Even MLK, even though they quote him, says, hey, Martin Luther King, he says, I want to be judged by the content of my character, not the color of my skin. And even in the midst of them saying that, they'll start bringing up lies, smears, and rumors. Now, You would think that if these people had so much respect for MLK, they would stop their fellow white people from bringing up these lies, smears, and rumors, right? They would say, well, even if that's true, this is a good guy. He's one of the good ones. He's one of the good ones because they love saying that, right? Even if that were true, why would you say that? See, and it really shows you, black activists, that there is no way for you to appease the dominant white society. There's no way to get in and fit in. You can date who you want. You can date a white person. I don't care. I don't have a judgment for who you date. That's your business. If you're gay, you're gay. If you're lesbian, you're lesbian. Listen, who you date, man, woman, whatever the skin color happens to be, that's none of my business. That's nobody's business but your own. And whatever God that you serve or don't serve, that's nobody's business. But you better understand who you are when you get out of that bed. You better understand that. Right? I want you to understand something, right? Many black activists have this idea that you're going to just fit in everybody into your organization with all these side projects of interest, right? Like, for example, I remember when I was having a discussion with a certain organization about black issues in the black community, the local black community here, and they started bringing up things about trees and about dogs and about animals, which is all worthy stuff. Listen, the analogy that I'm going to use with that, right? When you get people who join black organizations and bring up non-black issues, here's how you can deflect that. You can say, hey, there are many people around the world who are attacked by tigers. The second most populated country on earth is India. There's many tigers there, right? That doesn't mean that those issues pertain to here. I'm not saying that tiger attacks aren't a thing. I just said it happens in the second most populated country on planet Earth. I am saying that those issues don't pertain here. So make sure you're not in America fighting. Make sure that you're not in America fighting tiger attacks in India. That's the analogy that I use. Make sure that you're not in America fighting tiger attacks in India. Understand that, right? So with that being said, black activists, when you have these organizations, when you're trying to do any activism, when you're trying to work on the streets, and you start getting these people who come at you, right? And they say stuff like, well, I know you're pushing black issues, but what about this community and that community? You stop them right there. You say, hey, start an organization just for that. And then when they come back at you, they say, oh, you're not an ally. You're not everything else. Ask them a question. Says, hey, you got a file cabinet, right? And when they eventually says yes or no, say if they say yes, most people have a file cabinet. If they don't, they understand what a file cabinet is. And if not, they're just being purposely obtuse. But explain to them like this. You have a file cabinet for a reason. You file different things into different parts of the file cabinet. You don't put everything into the file cabinet all together, because then it becomes confusing. It becomes much harder to get to the issue, to get to the file. Or in this case, the file is the issue. You can't get to the issue if your file cabinet is cluttered with community with issues from the Latino community, Asian community, LGBT community. This issue. Listen, if you're black and LGBT, go for black issues. It's still going to cover you. If you're black and gay, go for black issues. It's still going to cover you because you're black. You've already met the first prerequisite. If you're black and lesbian, go for black issues. It's still going to cover you. You've met the first prerequisite. If you're black and transgender, go for black issues because you're black. You fit the first prerequisite. If you're black and you happen to be in an interracial relationship, you're still black. Your spouse isn't, but you still are. You don't just become translucent. You're still black. When you encounter the police and you have that white person right next to you, it's not going to matter. The police is going to ask you to come out and they're going to tell the white person to stay in the car. Okay? If you ever rode with your white friends, I'm pretty sure many black people have had this experience. All right? So I want you to understand something, right? It doesn't matter what kind of relationship you find yourself in, what kind of financial situation you find yourself in, even if you are a black person that happen to find yourself with a little bit of money. And all power to you. I'm glad. I like to see black people doing well. This is why whenever people, they criticize the NBA players, the NFL players, and the rappers, I'd be like, stop it. Let those brothers cook. Let those brothers live, right? But I want you to understand something, right? It doesn't matter if you are a rich black person because Ime Udoka is a basketball coach, and you saw how they treated him. Kyrie Irving, he has a whole lot of money, and you saw how they treated him. You saw how they treated Kyrie. You saw it. Kanye lost how much money in a week? You saw that, right? He was a billionaire. That brother was a billionaire. Brett Favre stole money from the poorest state in the whole nation, really. What happened to him? He got enough money where he's suing people because they call him a thief. But black activists, you want to sit here and keep putting on the case for everybody out there versus black people. I'm not saying that when you go home and you happen to have somebody who ain't black, that you can't fight for their issues. What I'm saying is when you go to work and you talking about you actually going to work for black people, then be there for black people. Have your mind set on black people. I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, I'm with a non-black person, but you couldn't tell. The same way as you can be with a woman as a man, you can still be with a woman and you can still be sexist. As a white person, you can still date a black person and still be racist. It happens. So the inverse must also be true. Because if you understand anything about how things work, one thing can't be true if the opposite is also not true. Meaning that, for example, if you look at Steven Spielberg's wife, he got a black wife, and if you look at what she makes him do, she makes him pay to all kinds of black initiatives. I mean, she about to single-handedly bankrupt this man. Oh, listen, there's a black girl who's got to go to school. You pay for that. You know what? That's one thing that I will give a lot of black women. There's a lot of black women who are in racial relationships and they tend to do the wrong thing. But there is a lot of black women who are in racial relationships, right? Who do the right thing. That's the one credit I will give black women more so than black men, because many black men, unfortunately, and I'm not trying to jump at black men, but I've noticed where a lot of sisters, because a lot of sisters are slick now. See, let me explain something about a woman. I haven't been a woman, but I know something about women. Women, they feign, weakness. Women are not weak. They are master manipulators. They are good at that. And the reason why they've had to become that is because men are physically stronger a lot of times. So women have had to learn how to use that mouth. When a woman gets you, they got you. They can sit there and pretend to be weak, but a woman is not weak. Don't you ever make that mistake. Don't you ever make that mistake. Listen, there's many women in here who have told their sons, don't you ever make that mistake, son. All right? So there's women right now. Don't you get it twisted now. There's women who get in these interracial relationships, right? Who get relationships with these white men, these rich white men, and they make them pay. Like, for example, you look at Venus and Serena. Look at what they're doing. They got their husbands paying for all kinds of initiatives for young black girls because their children are black. So it's mutually beneficial. They making them pay. And black activists, I need for you to understand something, right? That's what you got to do. See, many of us find ourselves in situations in life, and you think because you're in a certain position or situation that you can't speak up and you can't do the work. Like, for example, you got people out there who says, hey, I work this minimum wage job, so I can't be an activist because I don't have the money that you have. You don't have the money? That's fine. You have time. You don't have to have money to go down to a soup kitchen. You ain't got to have money to help an old lady across the street. You ain't got to have money to help a little kid with their homework. You ain't got to have money to help deliver food to an older person who maybe can't afford Uber Eats or grocery delivery, who's maybe, disabled. You ain't got to have money to go do that. You just got to have the desire. See, many of you who say that you don't have the money, you ain't got the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have the backup or the manpower. Really, what you're telling me is that you don't have the desire. You want to know how I know that? During the civil rights era, when there were bus boycotts, there were black women. And shout out, this is why I give black women a lot of credit. Shout out to those black women who were doing this, man. Those were I was an actual soldier in the army, but I consider them more soldiers than what I ever was. They walked for miles to go to work. They walked for miles. During the bus boycott, man, you had black women who would get up, get their children ready, right? Get their children to school. They would make their husbands breakfast, make themselves breakfast, make their husband lunch to take to work, and they would walk for miles to go to work. They would keep their hair up. They would do their hair before they actually left, and they would put it up in a nice bun, and they would keep that hair up all day long, and that hair would look perfect. When they come home, they would let it down, and they would keep that hair perfect just for their husband, just for their husband. They would be beautiful by the time their husband came home, and they would have the kids ready for bed. Those women were superheroes. Okay? See, the black woman is the perfect example, right? Of what I mean when I say, as a black activist, we don't have a whole lot of excuses because of how others have set the blueprint for us. If you don't have a vehicle, you got the internet. You got a phone. You can organize. You can work, and you can work remotely to use your funds to help a nonprofit or a charity or a co-op. There's a lot you can do. Because the internet is here, there's so many opportunities for activism. I don't want you to look to someone with a certain name or a certain organization. Start your own. Do it yourself. I don't want you to go to some organization, join it, thinking that you're going to save the world, and then when you don't, you be disappointed. If you want to be a superhero, if you want to be an activist, if you want to be like Malcolm X, if you want to be like MLK, guess what? All of them started organizations. They didn't join them. All of them started movements. They didn't join them. They became the trend. They didn't join the trend. They became what people want to aspire to be. Yeah, they had influences. Yeah, they had people that they looked up to. Don't get me wrong. But their end result is what you should focus on, what you should see, not in how they passed on, but how they lived. They didn't need someone. They didn't need someone to give them orders, to give them permission. Many black people are looking for permission to be black, to care about your people, to look out for your people. You're looking for permission. You don't need permission. You don't need permission to be black and care about your community. You don't need permission to actually start a actual co-op or a food program in your own neighborhood. You don't need permission to do that. You don't need permission to actually start up neighborhood patrols in your own neighborhood so that people don't need cops. You don't need permission to do that. You don't need permission to actually sit out at bus stops, right? You don't need permission to stand out at bus stops and look out for children to make sure they don't get hit by a car or snatched up. You don't need permission to go do that. You can do that all by yourself. You're looking for permission to care. Better yet, let me rephrase that. You're not looking so much for permission to care. You're looking for someone to motivate you, to crack the whip. So I want you to understand something, right? It is okay to care. It is okay to actually invest in your neighborhood. It's okay to start a business in your neighborhood and actually provide a service or a product in your neighborhood. You don't have to go to the white neighborhoods to actually go and do that. Now, if you want to start in a farm or something like that, I understand you might want to go more rural. You're not going to be more urban. I get that. Cool, cool. But don't be afraid to invest in your own community. If you find a young person, listen. If you're a person out there who is confused on what to do with your activism, but you have a whole lot of money, go find a young black person that says, "Hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to go to school for? Do you want to go to trade school? Do you want to go to a 2-year school, a 4-year school?" And then you offer to pay for it. You offer to give them some money. If you can't pay for the whole thing, say, hey, I got a little bit from my savings. Here's a little bit from my savings. I want you to do well. The way that you pay me back is doing well. That's what other people in other communities are doing. Do you not get that? Other people in other communities have whole banks set up just for their folks. They have listen, there's other communities who engage in rapid pace money laundering, right? To get their folks the money that they need. And yet in the black community, you got people out here who are afraid to even dream of a business. I'm not even talking about actually starting one. I'm talking about actually dream of one. As soon as I mention it, I don't know. I might fail. I don't want no good troubles. Y'all. If everyone has that mindset, and that mindset continues from generations, that fearful mindset, what do you think that's going to leave us? What do you think I'm doing right now? See, in Washington State, right now, me and my wife, we are getting ready to move to a farm. I'm going to get into the pork business, food production. I'm going to raise pigs, and I'm going to have them processed, and I'm going to make. That's how I'm going to make money. My wife makes 6 figures. I have a disposable income, but I'm going to make money in an actual future, in a legacy for my son. And even if I don't succeed in doing that, the fact that I'm going to put all my money and effort into trying to do that, that's what you got to be doing, y'all. What's your opinion on the Colorado rancher, the Mallorys? Yeah, I've heard of that case. I'm I'm looking into that case. I'm monitoring that very, very closely. I don't want to say more about that until some other things drop. But let's just say I'm keeping my eye on that. But the thing about that, and that's a whole nother case. You know, the Mallory case out of Colorado. You got people like me calling in reinforcements over there and sending support over there. But we need more local activists right there in Colorado who are unafraid to get into some good troubles, who are unafraid to speak up and speak out. Now we have some people there who are on the ground. No disrespect to anyone who's already doing the work, but we need more help. We need more people out there who are willing to stand up and speak out. Because I want you to understand something, right? Do you want to know why I'm followed so much? You want to know why people actually? You want to know why there's news journalists, there's actually journalists, there's media figures, there's celebrities who follow me, who listen to me, right? Um, I'll say something, and it will sound prophetic, and it's not really prophetic. It's just me being honest. It's just I'm hearing things from the black community. I'm judging it for myself. I'm letting it swirl around in my head a little bit, and then I'm just repeating it back to you. Someone asked me, "Have you worked with pigs? Where did you get your interest in them?" I've touched on them a little bit in South Carolina because there's a lot of pigs in South Carolina. I had a grandmother who is in Marion, South Carolina, who worked a lot with pigs, and they used to eat pigs buzzard style a lot. Like they used to roast a whole hog, and they that kind of stuck with me. It was pretty interesting, and I want to work with pigs because I want to find a way to be able to make money, but also do my activism. I want to feed people who I've tried to get away from the homeless term. I've only used unsheltered, things like that. But I use homeless because people can recognize the term very, very quickly, just for practicality's sake. So I want to feed people more efficiently. And one pig can produce so much meat to the point where it makes it feasible. Um, Now, I've figured out. I've already kind of touched on this a little bit, but if I can make $500 to $600 per pig starting out, and then as I getting off to maybe my fourth or fifth year, maybe getting up to maybe 600, 700, 800, per pig, after processing and everything else, and that would be great to actually reach to. But really, I want to be able to pull in at least six figures with it, like after all the cost of feed and cost of everything else. And I want to be able to eventually upgrade to providing my own hay, my own grains, and I want to be able to provide my own feed for my actual animals. And the difference between me and others is that others have to actually go to the USDA for like loans and grants, and they have to take out loans. They got to work for a long time to be able to afford an actual farm. Well, I have two things going for me. I'm a combat veteran rated at 100%. So once you at 100%, you get the VA home loan, and the VA home loan is $450,000, I think, and it's pretty much guaranteed. Like, you do get it if you fit like the credit profile. And it's not very, very high, and then there's like no down payment with the VA home loan. So I have that going for me. And on top of that, my wife makes six figures. She makes a lot of money. Like, I've seen her make 14 grand in a single week. Yeah, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? So that was I've seen that happen. So basically, I want to start the pork farming. I want to start pork. I want to start pork farming because pork farming is a very easy way to make money in terms of livestock production, in terms of meat production like feeder pigs, in terms of pigs that you want to go like feral and actually sell the piglets. It is a very easy way to make money, especially if you get some sows with a good cross and you get a good boar. The breeds that I'm going to start off with in terms of my pigs are going to be Durocs, and I want to go with Mangalitsa. The reason why in Washington State is because it's a very cold climate. The places that I'm going to be moving to, I've got a place locked in that I'm thinking I'm going to be going ahead and making an offer on. And the place I'm going to be going to, when it gets cold in the winter, it gets very cold. Even in the fall, it snows. So I want a breed that I can put outside. So if you're looking for a pig breed that you can put outside even during the winter and just all year round, so long as you have the proper structure, like some of the little sheds, the little small little sheds to little tiny little sheds and stuff, and with some hay. You can leave pigs outside all year on pasture. The two breeds that I would recommend are Durocs and Mangalitsa. So Mangalitsa, there's a person here who breeds them and who has them here in Washington State. Mangalitsas are a pig that's known to be woolly and hairy, and so they can live outside even in the cold. There's been Mangalitsas I've seen outside in like 9 degrees, like under 10 degrees. I've seen that before. I've seen Mangalitsas give birth in that kind of weather. Yeah, they are very hardy pigs. And Durocs are not only hardy and good in like cold weather, but they're also very gentle. Another good breed to look into are Durocs are hardy. They're great. They're a great breed. They grow a little bit more quickly. Durocs are a good solid breed to start off with. If you're just getting into pig farming, you can go with the Berkshire or the Yorkshire. I can't remember. It's a Berkshire Yorkshire, but basically the pink pig, the red wattle is a good pick. Duroc is a good pick though, very good pick. Hardy pig, not a bad pick to have. I would definitely consider a cross though. Durocs are just good. If you're just getting like just pure like Durocs, that's not a bad pick. It's just not, especially if you're going to raise them as feral, meaning. So the difference between a feeder pig and feral is like a pig that you're going to raise to bring to process and for like the meat, and then um and then a pig that's going to be feral is the one that you're going to be breeding and doing all those stuff, getting some piglets. So basically, I want to do Duroc and Mangalitsa mainly because I want to start off with a breed Whereas if I must do a cross in this cold environment, if I must do a cross, I want to start off with a base that has at least some cold resistance. You know, I don't want to start off with a red wattle and only be able to keep them certain times a year, because I want to be able to keep pigs year round. That way, I can I can get you know a butcher, have them set, and then go to that same butcher year round. And I'm going to be able to, be able to set up, some appointments 6, 7, 8 months out, because I'm working with the same guy year round. And if I'm raising pigs year round, then I know I'm gonna always have pigs that I'm gonna be pretty much close to, if not, right almost there, ready to go for processing. So like basically, we have, in terms of capital, a lot to invest in because my wife makes so much money, and with her back in the business, um, Berkshire swine with a Duroc board. Yeah, that's a very good. Yeah, yeah. Because Berkshires are very good. Berkshires are fantastic pigs. I like the Duroc meat. The meat's good in my opinion. Berkshire meat is better for bacon. Am I correct? Because I've only really raised like pigs in terms of like as a kid under adult supervision. I wasn't really raising them, per se. So I don't want to take credit, but I have been around them. Um, I know that Durocs are a great base to start with, but I know that Berkshires are a great cross. Um, Also, how you feed them, yes. So the way I'm going to feed my pigs are a little bit different. I do want to do some grains because you must give pigs grains, a certain amount of it. I want them to be healthy, but I want to take in some grains and supplement the food with things that I can find from certain factories as waste product, things like basically organic materials. Um, like for example, there is a peanut factory that I know that has this waste product. When they, basically whenever you crush a peanut shell, right, the little dust that comes out of it. Well, there's some companies who actually sweep it up and they actually sell that stuff. Well, they sell it cheap, and it's a great source of a lot of good stuff that pigs actually like to eat. I know there's a few farmers that I know who actually feed their pigs this. They're actually already in the market, and I learned this because when I was learning, I um, I was actually working with worms, and so I was on a farm, and one of the farmers started giving the pigs like this little peanut like waste product. They were giving them that. They were giving them some of the rotten apples. They were giving them all kind of waste products, right? And I was asking, I said, you could feed a pig that? Because I remember as a kid, like my folks only gave them grain, because they weren't trying to be like professional, they weren't trying to like go into business. They were just trying to raise pigs just for their own meat. They weren't trying to, sell the actual meat. They're like, yeah, you can feed them all that stuff. It's pig. And it's good for them. And it's great for the environment because all the waste products that usually other animals can't eat, pigs can eat. They can digest a lot. You just gotta be careful with certain things that they can't eat. But like Epic said here, grain, molasses, and orchard grass. Yeah, lay back on molasses if they get if they get that fat neck. Yeah. I was gonna actually add some alfalfa, a little bit of alfalfa, because I know that it actually boosts a lot of stuff, and also garlic. Um, I like garlic because garlic is a natural immune booster, and it also does a lot with worms. I gotta figure out, because I know a lot about worms. I know an uncomfortable amount about worms, because if you know a lot about actual worms, you actually know um, a lot about composting, because that's primarily the reason why people learn about worms a lot of times. So I know that when it comes to these pigs, I need to actually develop several diets based on the breed and based on the age. So I mean, that's one of the things I'm going to be researching. I mean, I want to basically design something that is all organic and market the meat just as that. But what I also want to do, because my wife, she's already talking to people who sell pigs and stuff, and she's gonna put 10 grand into the initial setup for the pigs, and then another 50 grand into the actual shelters, into the actual wiring. So 60 grand right through the gate, and we'll start off with 20 pigs, and we'll sort of try to see if we can get $500, $500, a pig, and that's only like $1,000, wait, it's like what, 10 grand? I'm not good at math, whatever. Um, but I mean, it's not a whole lot of money, and I want to see just that first year how it goes, and after that, I'm gonna pick up 50 piglets, and I'm gonna hold back, a few of the females. I'm gonna wait to see how they grow and fill out, um, and then take out the ones that I like, and then have the rest of them fixed. And then I'm going to maybe keep maybe 4 to 5 sows and maybe 2 boars. And I'm going to look at my boars and see which one I like the most. Keep one, get rid of the other one. That's how I'm going to get into business. And I'm going to do with the outdoor land pallet, a land paddock system. So the properties that I'm considering, I got various choices. I got one that's over 30 acres. I got one that's over 20 acres. I got one that's 12 acres. So basically, the way I'm going to split it up is I need at least 5 acres to do my pig operation, with 1 acre as separation between the pig operation and my home, because pigs smell. You don't want them near your home. We want at least an acre barrier buffer. That's my rule of thumb. You might want more, but I can't come within like an acre. Can't do it. If you've ever been on a pig farm, it is, boy, it is rough. So yeah, I'm going to definitely fix the boars though, because the boars that I'm going to keep, I'm not going to eat. Those are the ones I'm just going to be using for, you know, romance, romance. Um, you around Yelm area or east of that? Yeah, listen, I can go to any area I want. See, my wife, she's a court reporter, but she can work remotely, so I can go Timbuktu if I really really want it. And because I'm rated at 100% with the VA for terms of compensation, I get paid every month in tax free money. So we can go anywhere. I mean, literally anywhere. We can pick up and leave right now, and it wouldn't matter. We wouldn't be hurting. So that's why we're just trying to find some areas that we like, and that's why we want to find a good spot to nestle down in, and get things going. But that gets back into black activism. You see how I already have a plan. I've thought about this. I got a VA home loan. I got stuff that I'm planning on. Black activists, we have to plan stuff like this. It's not just about a business for me, because if it were, I would just push more of my content, turn on monetization and make some money. I'll just do that. I would just push products and merch, and I know people would actually buy it. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I want to be able to help the community, but at the same time make money for myself, because then it's not just selfish, not just for a selfish goal, but at the same time leave something for my children, something that they can enjoy. And the fact that I have my wife financially backing me, to make sure that this business gets off the ground and running is a great help. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, you can be in a relationship with somebody who's not black and actually be an asset to the black community. It just depends on how you do it. Don't get me wrong. There's some tap dance types out there. But I think this is also a new age and a new day. And things that we didn't foresee could happen are happening now. Anyways, guys, the last message that I want to leave with you all is that I love you all, and I want you all to become stewards of your fellow man and fellow sister. Become stewards of your neighborhood and your local area, and care about your neighborhood, because nobody else will. if you want. Until next time, guys, be safe out there. Horns up, peace out, good night, and good luck.